Today on the podcast, we're going to look at some simple questions that you can solve by using AI tools, artificial intelligence tools that are already installed on your phone or installed on your computer. Now, for those of you who are listening to the podcast for the first time, do not be alarmed. Yes, I'm making today's recording out and about because the kids are having catechism classes. It's a Sunday, and usually I just chill in the car and catch up on recordings. So you're going to hear noise in the background. For instance, there's some idiot driving by with a convoy. All of them they're just blasting. What's that thing called? Security convoy is just blasting noise up and down. So anyway, yeah, I'm making today's recording out and about. I'm in the car and expect to hear people making noise all over the place. So today, what we're going to do, like I said, is we're going to look at simple questions that you can solve by using AI tools. And the category of questions that you can solve by using these tools, one of them is business plans. Now, the reason why we're looking at that today is because in the course of this podcast or in the course of my radio show, there are people who call in or people who send messages and they want the answers to some questions. And I get lots of these questions. How do you come up with a business plan for baking business? That's what we're going to use as the case study, by the way. Or how do you come up with a business plan for architecture business? Excuse me. Or how do you come up with a business plan for catering business? How do you come up with a business plan for this? How do you come up with a business plan for that? So you guys, you get the picture. You get what I'm trying to say. Now, in the past, I have tried to freestyle or maybe do a little bit of research and come up with the answers to these questions. But I've started telling people that, look, this business that you're trying to do, now your own, like it's your own thing. So you can't stay and say you don't know this, you don't know this, you don't know that. That's the reason why you haven't started. And because of that, you're trying to reach out to consultants or gurus or whoever, to try and show you the way. So folks like me, we are important to your business journey, yes. But the thing is, if at the beginning, at the very start, like you haven't done any research on your own, you're coming to someone like me and you're expecting that I'm the one that's going to show you the way, like you're missing road. You're missing the road. Especially nowadays that information is free because of the internet and because of artificial intelligence tools. You'll be helping yourself if in the beginning, if in the get-go, you go and do some research first, no matter how adequate or inadequate the thing is, and then you now try and be doing one or two things on your own before you now say you want to call a consultant. Now understand that there are some businesses that are highly technical. So let's say you're getting into maybe you're getting into the oil and gas business for the first time. Maybe you want to set up a refinery, to refine petroleum, like Dangote, for instance. Yes, I would understand if for that kind of business, okay, maybe from the beginning, from the get-go, you go the whole consultant, and then two of you be moving step in step. But for other kind of businesses, SMEs, like it needn't be this formal. Honestly, it doesn't have to be. And you don't have to be so like, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I don't know. There are some simple tools nowadays that make the business journey a whole lot easier. Oh, by the way, if you're interested in these sorts of questions, then subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, on YouTube, on Apple, or any player of your choice, because these are the kinds of things that we talk about over here almost every day on the podcast. And if you'd love to connect with me, my name is Tavishima Ayede. I'm the host of the show. So you can send me a text message or a WhatsApp message on 080-6466-2140. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn as well. So like I said, examples of questions today that you can easily solve using AI, or that you can just start the process by using AI. And the case study we're going to do today is how to come up with a business plan for baking business, because this one is a real live question that I received from a caller for my radio show. I can't remember the guy's name. Was it Benson, I think, or Franklin? Anyway, let's just say Benson. So a question I received from Benson based in Abuja, business plan for baking business. Now, first off, some of you might be hearing it for the first time, but even if you are not, let's just have a simple definition, just so that we are clear on what it is that we're talking about. Now, a business plan typically is a document that is used when it comes to fundraising for formal purposes. That doesn't mean you shouldn't create a business plan, even if you're not looking for an investor. So, even if you're not looking for investors, even if you're not trying to raise funds from a bank or from a mortgage bank or whatever, it still would help if you come up with a business plan. But to be honest, let me not lie, a lot of us that have started one kind of runs or the other, whether it's architecture, whether it's photography, whether it's business consulting, whether it's fashion, whether it's logistics business, let me not lie you, lots of us just put it inside and then that's how we started. But if you come with a business plan, it won't be a bad idea. But typically, at least in this part of the world, most people who are looking for some sort of business plan is because they want to raise finance. Maybe they want to approach SMIDA and see if they can get something. Approach microfinance banks, see if they can get something. Go to Zenith Bank, see if you can get something. So, so typically that's what we use business plans for in this part of the world. But remember, you don't have to be looking for other people's money before you raise a business plan. So the way that I define a business plan is, it is just that document that tells people who you are, how much money you need, what you want to use the money for, your sales and marketing plan, how you're going to get customers for this business. You're also going to talk about the expected returns that you're going to get from this business. You talk about the payback period, how much these people expect to get back. Because when people are when you're dropping money for your business, everybody wants to know what's in it for me. When is my money going to start coming back? What's my percentage? All those questions. And then you're also going to explore the considerations for receiving the funds in the first place. Now, consideration is just a fancy way that lawyers say, what's consideration again? How will I put it now? Let's just say consideration is a promise. A promise that how will I put it? Yeah, a promise that you give somebody so that you guys can enforce a contract. So in this case, if you're trying to raise funds using a business plan, you let them know, like, okay, is this thing a loan? Is it borrow? You borrow me the money, therefore I'm paying you back, and then I'm paying you how much? Or is it equity? Is it that the person is going to get a share in your business, and then you guys are going to become part owners? So people have to discuss all these things. What are you exchanging for what? What are you dropping for what? What are the terms of the contract? Things like that. So the business plan is that document that pretty much covers all these sorts of things. But let me say one more time, in case there's somebody who didn't hear me and the person wants to quote me out of context. It is still a good idea to come up with a business plan, even if you are not fundraising, because trying to come up with a business plan is going to be like a roadmap. So it's going to force you to think about some things from the beginning. So the chances are, if you come up with a business plan and you refer to it from time to time, then, God willing, you should not get stuck. Because most business plans that you come up with, whether it's a template or whether you do research, should help you think through a couple of things to anticipate before you start the business. So please hear me correctly. Even though lots of people draw up a business plan because they want to raise money, you can come up with a business plan even though you don't want to raise money. Just use the thing as a roadmap so that you will never get stuck, so that you will never hang, so that you will never hook, so you will never jam base, so you will never be in that situation where something happens and you're like, what the hell? I did not expect this. I never expected it. So you won't get in that situation. So, if you're trying to draw up a business plan either by yourself or doing some research or consulting with one or two people, there is no how. At least the major, freak accidents happen in business, all the time. But at least the major things, there's no way that those major things will confuse you because you'd have thought through the whole thing. So, now, how do we used to come up with business plans back in the day? And you see the reason why I'm in love with AI tools, artificial intelligence tools, although I prefer to call them augmented intelligence tools, because artificial intelligence tools, yes, they're artificial, but they're not really intelligent. But we can use them to augment our own execution, augment our own thinking, augment our own, you understand, every. So I prefer to call them augmented intelligence tools. So back in the day now, how do we used to do all this? If you want a business plan, how you get a business plan? Excuse me. So back in the day now, during military era, like during Abacha era, I say area. So at least like during that time now, internet no day, but at least everybody. Okay, well not everybody because it's not as if we had computers and stuff like that. But at least there was what did they used to call them before? Business center. That's what they used to call them, business center. So at least on your street, business center day. At least on campus, we get like in your hostel, maybe like 2 or 3 business centers. That's our standard. And on that in that business center now, if you go there and you meet the person who is behind the keyboard and you tell the person what you want to do, the person will just open MS Word. That's Microsoft Word. Now for Microsoft Word, there was a section then, I think called templates or something. On that template, you will now see business plan. So back in the day, you wanted to do some research, you want to come with a business plan. Now so you could do one. All right. You just look for a business center. You go there. You tell the typist what you want to do. They will open template. You will begin to look at templates. You select the one that is appropriate. Then you start typing out the whole thing. That's how you flesh it out. So that's what we used to do during military era under Abacha. During that time, I didn't write any business plan, but I saw people who used to write business plan. And some people used to do it as business. Okay, you want to start your architecture business. You need business plan. Oh, I'll come. I'll do business plan for you. This is how much you pay me. Then, eventually, things opened up. Obasanjo came into power. The economy opened up. We began to see GSM. Internet started to flow small. Although not everybody had laptop, not everybody had mobile phones because phones are very expensive back in the day. In fact, phones are still expensive now. But anyway, you catch my drift. So then now, instead of just MS Word, doing research on Microsoft Word, you could actually go to now these things had expanded because before they used to call them business center. So now they've expanded. Now they don't become cyber cafe, not just business center. So it's not just that you go there to write your project or to print out business plan or to bind contracts or whatever, but you would also be able to access the internet. So you go to the cyber cafe during Obasanjo era, and then you hook up to the internet, and then from there you'll be able to get different templates from the internet that you can use to create your business plan. So excuse me. Now, I'm sure you guys can appreciate what I'm trying to say now. That in Nigeria, back in the day, some 20 something years ago, if you wanted to create a business plan, it actually was a hard thing to do. You needed to know certain kinds of people. You needed to hang out in certain kinds of circles. Or if you knew what's up, you need to be able to excuse me, find a business center to start getting templates from Microsoft Word or to go and start doing research on the internet. It's not as if everybody had internet everywhere on their computer or on their phones, and you still would have to talk to people who are in the know because it's not as if researching over the internet was readily available to people. So internet templates, that one is like Obasanjo era. So let's move on now. Currently now we're in the AI era, Tinubu's era, AI, artificial intelligence. Now this is the reason why I keep telling people that when people ask me some kind of questions like how do I come up with a business plan for manufacturing plastic, for instance, because you think I know everything, you think I'm a computer. Actually, I'm not. I'm not the smartest kid on the block. I'm not. My chief value is you started the business, you're trying to gain traction, you're trying to increase your sales and your marketing efforts, or you're having customer service issues, things like that. My chief value is when you have hook in those sorts of things, I am the guy who knows how to help you unravel those mysteries. But it's not as if in the beginning you want to set up a plastic manufacturing business. Therefore, you reach out to me and say, "Oh yeah, give me business plan for manufacturing plastics." Like, how am I supposed to know that? I didn't go to school for all this. It's not my basic talent. So, this is the reason why I refer lots of you, for those of you who reach out, because I give my contact details a lot at the beginning and at the end of every episode. In fact, let me do it again. 08064662140. That's the reason why any of you who call me, who send me a text message, or who send me a WhatsApp message, that's why the first question I'm going to ask you is, did you check AI? What did you come up with? Let's have a look at it. What have you tried in the past? What do you think you can try now? What seems reasonable? What seems workable? And before we even start talking anything else, I'll tell you, go and try, all these things now. You did some small research. You came up with 7 ideas. You think you can do number 1, number 7, and number 12. Well, go and do them now. Do it first, and then come back, then we can talk. Now, the reason why I quickly send people down this route is because now you don't have to go to business center. You don't have to go to cyber cafe. And you don't need to buy any expensive equipment. Okay, well, the economy don't spoil, so phones are expensive. But even if it's only 120K or 150K that you have, there are some cheap Android Go handsets. You can still have access to the internet and load up AI tools on that. You'll be able to access Google Gemini on it. So these things are already on your phones. These things are already on your computers. You don't have to leave the comfort of your house anymore. You don't have, for those of you who are still in school, you don't have to leave lecture hall. You don't have to leave hostel. It's already on your phone. Just whip it out and do some basic research first. So, this is a case study. Business plan for baking business. I decided, let me just go into Google Gemini and just throw up a random search. How do I come up with a business plan for baking business? And this is what Google Gemini told me. For those of you who are interested in starting baking business, listen to this thing and tell me if this does not make sense. So, of course, the usual now, Google Gemini, because it tries to be very personable. That whole congratulations, you want to start a business, blah, 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 blah. It's a very good thing to do, promising prospects, this, that. Okay, if you want to start up a business plan, these are the sorts of things that you should be paying attention to. So, Google Gemini said you need a section that is called Executive Summary. And basically, Google Gemini was saying that the executive summary is where you're going to come up with the concept. What kind of bakery are you doing? Is it common bread you're doing? Is it puff that you want to do? Is it meat pie that you want to do? Or you want to do something fancy? Maybe, you're in Lagos or in Abuja and it's just common bakery, everywhere. And you're thinking maybe you open a bakery with some kind, maybe like French flair, something nice and sophisticated. You understand now. Do something different. Like in Abuja, there's Chloe's Cupcakes. That's all they do there, just cupcakes. So you want to go there, you want to hang out, and you want cupcakes, only cupcakes. I think cupcakes and ice cream, that's all they do. But you see their own concept because, bakery is there everywhere. So you guys to do your own in such a way that there's a difference. People will know you for something. So Chloe's Cupcakes, whether in Abuja or in Lagos, if now cupcakes you want chop, that's all. If it's meat pie, don't go there. If it's birthday cake, okay, they will answer you. If it is croissant, don't go there. They don't bake anything else. So executive summary, that's where you say, this is my concept. Bam. So if you're raising money for investors, this is the kind of thing that they want to hear. They want to know very clearly, what is it that you're trying to do? Even if you're not trying to raise money, going through these exercises that Google Gemini is saying that this is what you should be thinking of is very, very beautiful because now you already begin to arrange the pattern in your mind. Like, okay, what am I doing exactly? Is it just because, Momsy used to bake and, I liked hanging out with Momsy in the kitchen, therefore I must be a baker? No. You go through the exercise and start to narrow it down. What exactly is the concept? And then, of course, mission statement and, all that jazz. But, of course, you know me now. As far as I'm concerned, mission statement is down and wash. But, of course, you have to put it there. Then, Google Gemini also said, you suppose have your company description over there. Go through the legal structure. Are you going to be a one-man show? Are you going to register a business name? Is this going to be a limited liability company? Blah, blah, blah. You're trying to raise money. Your investors want to know those things. Even if you're not trying to raise money, but you're trying to start up a business on your own, you'll be good if you think through some of these things. Now you can see at the level where you can start reaching consultants. So if at this stage you now realize that legal structure, me, what do I know? If you reach out to a business consultant now or a lawyer at this stage, it's making sense because you don't inquire, execute, or arrange some things in your mind. So you now be getting down to specifics. If you reach out to someone, sorry, one moment. Okay, sorry about that. I had to pause because my son had just finished his catechism classes and they were doing a test for First Holy Communion. So I just wanted to know how things went. All right, so let's get back to it. So I think I was talking about the company description and where was I? Okay, yes. So at this point now, if you try to engage the services of a consultant, whether a lawyer or a business consultant, yes, it will make more sense because you have started doing some research on your own and you're running into specific troubles. And you see, calling somebody up to ask them what legal structure would be best for a baking business is better than just calling somebody up from the beginning and asking the person, how do I come up with a business plan for baking for a baking business? The first one is just too broad, and nobody's an encyclopedia. But if you come with a very specific thing, I want to start a baking business, and I don't know which legal structure is best. Very good. Now you can engage a consultant. Then let's see what else. Okay, then Google Gemini also recommended that we need a section on products, on services. That's where you talk about the general menu. So if you remember at the beginning of the podcast, I think, or somewhere in the middle of the podcast, I spoke about the core menu. Sorry, not the core menu. I spoke about the what will I say? The thing that would distinguish your bakery or your baking business apart from others. So you'd have to come up with a core menu, a menu that is different, that sets you apart. And if I remember correctly, I think I spoke about Chloe's Cupcakes. Yes, Chloe's Cupcakes in Abuja and in Lagos. So for Chloe's Cupcakes, their core menu is just cupcakes, nothing else. So, fondant cupcake, strawberry cupcake, chocolate cupcake, this cupcake, butterscotch, on and on and on and on. So for those of you who know things about baking, forgive me. I'm not a baking person. I like to eat. I don't bake. So I'm just running off of memory. So, the core menu. You identify your products or service. So what is it that you're going to be baking? What is it that you're going to be doing? In this section, Gemini recommends that Google Gemini, that is their native artificial intelligence tool, they recommend that we should come up with pricing strategy as well. So how much are we going to be pricing this bread, pricing this croissant, pricing the cupcake, pricing the this, pricing the that, and then a section on sourcing. Sourcing, very, very important. Where are you going to be getting your ingredients from? Are you going to be importing them from Umuahia, or are you going to be ordering them off Temu or Alibaba? Are you going to be getting them from China? But sourcing is a very, very important part of the equation. That's for those of you who run these sorts of businesses. So if you are going to be getting, if you're going to be raising funds, the people who you're going to be raising funds from would like to know about these sorts of things. But then again, even if you're not going to raise funds, from an operational perspective, it will be nice before you begin that you have already started considering these sorts of things. How are we going to be pricing this cupcake? How are we going to be pricing this bread? How are we going to be pricing this meat pie, this croissant, this blah, 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 all of them. And then sourcing, where are we going to be getting these things from? Absolutely important. Now, if you're listening to the podcast for the very first time, I hope you're beginning to see how these simple artificial intelligence tools can help you to figure out a whole bunch of stuff before you begin your business journey. Now, I am not saying that these things are perfect, and I'm not saying that these things are absolutely correct 100% of the time. No, but I'm saying that these are handy, useful tools already in your pocket because you have a phone already on your computer that you can use to sort out your business, to start your business journey. Then Google Gemini also recommended a section on okay, sorry, one moment. I have to attend to one more person. Okay, sorry about that. The catechism teacher needed my attention. So back to the recording. So next, Gemini recommends a section on market analysis where we go into the industry overview. Industry overview, that's just where you need to consider the lay of the land. So you want to start up a bakery in Abuja, or in Umuahia, or in Onitsha, or in Lagos, or whatever. So what is the baking industry like in that particular part of the world? Who are the target market that people are going after? So like sorry, forgive me for referring to Chloe's Cupcakes, but to be honest, that's the only baking business I can think of at the moment. So, yeah, so I'm sure that the founder of Chloe's Cupcakes, she had to consider these sorts of things. I'm coming in here, I'm setting up these things. What are the kind of business that will move? Who are the other players in the market? What do the other people offer? Is there any space in the market? What can I do that is distinct? What can I do that is different? What can I do that is unique? Okay, we've decided on cupcakes. Now, is there a target market for cupcakes? Are there any people that eat cupcakes in Niger? You know, sorry, one moment. Okay, sorry about that. It's like today's episode, get interruption, plenty, plenty, plenty. So what happened was there was this idiot who was driving on the road, and you know how we are in Nigeria now, very, very lawless fellows. So the guy was transporting roofing sheet, but instead of using big tipper to carry this thing, they use these small trucks, these tiny trucks that they're like the size of a Picanto, very useless trucks. So the guy carried the roofing sheet now, and then they tied the thing on this small truck, this Picanto size truck, and then as we were moving, it's as if the back of the zinc now fell, and he was now scratching the ground. So that noise that you guys were hearing, that's where the noise came from. It's just some idiot who is transporting roofing sheet, but the guy did not use a proper truck. He's using a Picanto size truck, and then he's driving, and the roofing sheet is just scratching on the ground. And see, this is the problem of doing business in Nigeria. The guy will now carry this thing to site. Mind you, the roofing sheet would have been scratching on the floor the whole way. He will now go and deliver it to the person, and he will now say, "Oh yeah, take your roofing sheet." He will say that he has delivered now, that he has done work, and then the guy will want to collect money. Now, you see why on the podcast, this is why I keep talking about how if you just do some basic, some sane stuff in Nigeria, you will already stand out. So if you're in the roofing sheet market, building materials market, and you just make sure that you observe some simple basic stuff when you're transferring things, proper care, are you on time? Let the consignment not damage, small things like that. You just do some basic stuff. Already, you're standing apart in a very crowded market, and people will say, "This guy, he gets sense." So that when they're building, they will call you. So, back to where I was. Chloe's Cupcakes, yes. So Chloe Cupcakes, yeah, target markets. So then they chop cupcakes in Abuja or Lagos. You ask yourself that kind of question. Okay, the people that eat cupcakes, who are they? Is it old men? Is it young boys? Is it CC Eco? Is it old mummies? You have to ask yourself these sorts of things. So those are the questions you're asking yourself when it comes to the target market. Then, of course, like I said, you also look at the competition. You do your competitive analysis, and then because you want to make sure that you stand out apart from the market. So these are some of the questions and suggestions that Google Gemini came up with. Then Gemini also recommended, and this is my favorite segment, my favorite part of the business plan, and I recommend, in fact, if you don't do a business plan for anything else, this is the main reason why I say everybody must do a business plan, because it forces you to think about marketing and it forces you to think about sales. So you have to come up with your marketing strategy. You have to come up with your sales strategy. So how are you going to how are you going to promote the business? How are you going to promote it online? How are you going to promote it offline? Are there any local considerations to take on board when it comes to promoting a baking business, a cupcake business, a whatever business in Lagos that is different from marketing in Abuja, that is different from marketing in Umuahia? It depends. So, and then also the question of sales channels. So what kind of sales channels are you going to adopt in starting this business? And the sales channel, basically, how do I put it now? I'll explain it. Okay, a channel is any medium, any conduit, anything between you and the final customer. Basically, how you get your product or your service across to the final customer. So back to Chloe's Cupcakes. So for Chloe's Cupcakes, she has physical locations in Abuja. She has a couple, and then physical locations in Lagos, and I don't know where else. So obviously, sales channels. Part of it is number one, the in-store experience. Then I don't know if. Oh, sorry, one moment. Just had to dab my eyes because I was sweating a little. Where was I now? Channels. Okay, so the in-store experience, that is an important part of sales channels for Chloe's Cupcakes. Then I'm not sure if she's into online retail now because I'm not in that part of I don't flow in those circles. Like if you give me cupcakes, yeah, I'll eat definitely, but I don't go out of my way to go and look for cupcakes. So I don't know if she has an online experience, online channels. So when we say sales channels, those are the things that we're talking about now. Do people have to come into the store? Do you have your own website where people can place orders and all those sorts of things? Then Gemini also recommends that you come up with an operations plan. So what kind of equipment are you going to need? How are you going to do inventory management? Then, of course, there's also the financial plan that has to be a part of the business plan. Because if you're raising money from investors or people who want to who want to partner with you on equity, they need to know what are your startup costs, how much money do you need, how much money do you need to start up with, whether it's operating capital, how much money you're going to need every single month, money for buying material, money for machine, money for this, money for that. Then let's see what else. Okay, so startup costs. Then your financial plan will also need a sales forecast. And some people say forecast. That is it not just guessing? Is it not just manufacturing numbers? Well, in a sense, yes. Sometimes it's like manufacturing numbers. But see, this is the reason why I say that in the beginning it helps if you have been doing these things small. If you have some form of MVP. The MVP is the minimum viable product. It is the smallest version of your product, your service, your idea that people can see, can taste, can touch, can smell, can try out. And the reason why the MVP is important is because that is what will let you know whether you are making some traction in this business or not. So, before you go and do this business on a big level, to like Chloe's cupcakes, if you have already been selling cupcakes small, like during PTA meeting, you bring cupcakes you sell for other parents. People's birthday party, you supply to different parents. Celebrations going on in the office or in the department, you supply cupcakes. So if you don't supply cupcakes like that, small, that is where you can now come up with the figures that will be able to help you in the sales forecast. Because you will now know that, okay, based on the hustle where they do in the past, based on one or two things, I have been moving this amount in cupcakes. So therefore, by the time we start on the bigger level, if we try them like this, we do them like this, I think I should be able to sell like this, and like that. So that is how you get around the sales forecasting thing. But for a bunch of people who haven't done anything, they just start manufacturing numbers. But please, this is the reason why I say we need to have done. Sorry about that. A message came through on my phone. I just wanted to make sure it was nothing important. So we need to have been doing this thing small. So at least from there, we'll now know what is realistic when it comes to a sales forecast. Then you also do a break-even analysis. That is, how much should I be selling? How much should I be producing before I even break even? Break even just means you recoup your investment, not as if you're making profits. So let's say you collect 5M. How much activity do I have to form before I get to the level of, say, we are making back that 5M before we now even talk of profit? So that's break-even analysis. Then, of course, the funding request, that's the part where you ask people that, okay, based on what I've said so far, I'm going to need, 5M, I'm going to need 20M, 30M, whatever. I'm going to need this amount of money. Will you guys be willing to fund it? Blah, blah, blah. And if you fund it, this is how and when we're going to pay you back. So there are other things that Google Gemini. I know ChatGPT is more popular, but I prefer to use Google Gemini. So there are also things that Gemini recommended. But as you can see, if you've been following me, that this is a useful exercise to go through whether you're trying to raise finance or not. Because if you're raising finance, then you'll be prepared to answer a question when you stand in front of your investor, people you want to raise money from. But if you're not, this exercise will help you think through not say all, most major considerations before you begin in this business. And so this is the reason why it is useful. And I will say again, please only consider reaching out to a consultant or some on-air personality or whatever when you have some specific questions that you need to address, specific in the weeds questions, because all these general all these general questions like how do you come up with a business plan for architectural business, you go and meet a consultant to go and start talking at that level, you're just wasting the person's time. It's too broad. It's not a very helpful question, and especially if you're asking for free advice, these are not the kind of issues that we want to waste our time talking free advice on. But if you've done some research by yourself with these tools that are already in your pocket, that are already in your house, and they are there for free, and then you now try and implement one or two ideas on your own, then you now reach out to the consultant to say, this is what I'm doing, this is where I'm heading. I jangbase here. Yeah, okay. Now we can start having some useful conversations. So the reason why I made today's podcast episode is just to give a demonstration live and direct about how you can use these tools to help clarify your thinking before you start your business. So thank you very much for your time and attention. It's already more than 30 minutes, so let me bring this to a close. Remember, if you'd like to get in touch because you have questions, you have comments, you have queries, you can call or send me a text message or send me a WhatsApp message on 08064662140. So thank you very much for your time and attention. I'll catch you all some other time.